Good morning. Welcome to today's live show. CPI day, FOMC minutes we got going on today. I don't know if we're going to do a big breakdown at the end of this because we're going to be back on here for those FOMC minutes. Looks like CPI did come out. Let's pull that up real quick. Seems like we're getting a little bit of a bad reaction to it as of right now. Just looking through this right now, core inflation rate month over month, 0.4, just a little bit of a tick up, right? 0.3, 0.3. Core inflation rate year over year, 3.8. Little bit of a tick up there as well. But this was, I thought that was different yesterday, but inflation rate month over month, 0.4, just another little tick up here. Inflation rate year over year, this one ticked up as well. So everything kind of ticked just a little bit higher, and that is freaking out the market. So it looks like those technicals got it a little bit wrong for TLT here, but we have to see. So my stop's probably going to get taken out here. And we can see what happens. But if this 10-year yield, right, once we start to go above this level for too long, it's going to be very, very bad. And we're just now noticing the VIX starting to pop. So we'll pay attention to everything today. Unfortunate, but, weirdly enough, what if this sets up divergence? I mean, those aren't the most astronomical numbers, right? Those are just barely ticking up from, except for this 3.5. That's a pretty good tick up from the 3.2, but this was the previous. This was the previous. You can see how people might convince themselves this is actually good news, except for this one right here today. So we'll have to see. But as it opens up, let's go over to the SPY here. Seeing it touch, where is it? Daily expected move very early on in the day. Okay, so this is kind of your moment right here if we're going to hold up or see that drop. Everything will pop before the... Morning, y'all. Puts print today. Hell yeah, they did. Hey, they did this morning, but you're already at that daily expected move as well. Not saying that this thing can't keep going. I mean, that's inflation ticking up again. If people see that as mostly bearish, but one thing I'm mentioning, remember when we go through CPI data, we have to kind of say how we could convince ourselves it is good. And right now, you would say, oh, this is still in line with the previous, still in line with the previous. At least this didn't tick up from the previous. This one's the only one that really could worry you a little bit here, but the core is what the Fed's going to pay attention to, and that came in as the same as last month. So I'm just saying to pay attention to that as we are at the bottom of the daily expected move here. But TLT, you saw that thing dropping off. Now it's testing this level again. Let's see if it can gain some support there. That would be interesting. But as of right now, you have to say, well, the 1, the 2 hour, they look like they might roll over as well. So you really need this to hold up and see that taper back off. Wonder if we have any Fed Bowman speech. We have FOMC minutes later and Fed Goolsby. But VIX, you can see that popping, but now it's starting to fade. Like I said, people could convince themselves that this is still good news. Kind of crazy, but he's not able to reach their daily expected move just yet. Let's look at the reaction across the board here. Okay, Apple coming down a little bit, testing that level again. Okay, we're testing this level again. We'll have to see what happens with that. Tesla dropping off. This looks like it was cooked, right? It has that divergence up here that you could play. This might be a little quick. Puts during the first hour trades. You think that this is going to be a trap? Good morning, Junior. Good morning, Matthew. Frank. DB. Capture this. Dane. Donald. Now that. Good morning. Hold. He says hold. Well, let me see. Mine might have got stopped out there. Amazon starting to creep back up. Look at that. 30-minute crosses, positive territory, you guys. Like this here, if this can hold up at this level. Remember that weekly expected move is right here. AMD dropping down. Now this one has some room to the downside, right? Has a little bit of room to the downside. But what if we get that reaction? We still have to be able to flip. If you made money this morning, that's great. I think that is fantastic. But look at these MACDs starting to curl up. We're not necessarily seeing this drop off very hard. Microsoft, that one's looking a little bit. So if this breaks through here, that would be some bad news. You really need this to hold up. And Google sitting at higher levels. Maybe that wants to make a move, but Google, this thing is pretty cooked as well. Who called the pre-market slip? Yeah, that's why you want to have those stops close. I mean, it is good to still follow your technicals, right? The technicals for Apple, the technicals for TLT, they look good. You take the trade, and then you can take one of the other ones too, right? You can take like an Amazon down as well to hedge a little bit. What did Bitcoin do with this info? Well, it came down a little bit. All right, so that came down as well. Coin able to come down a little bit, even though Coin had some stuff going on down here. Yeah, we can check on the dollar. The dollar's really moving today. We want to look at this probably on a daily scale and see how it's starting to compete again with this high. So something we can look for, still 4-hour divergences, things like that up in this level. But seeing that move higher, maybe it wants to go hit my target, 105.65. 10-year, you see that hitting this point right here. Remember, 4.495 is a point that I really thought we were going to hit. Now we're coming back down. Maybe create some kind of triple divergence here, and this actually falls. So even though this is seen as initially bad, there is opportunity for things to go higher. You notice this is not the waterfall like selling, right? You're getting one gap down, testing the daily, and now you're seeing support come in. So just keep that in mind. You're already at the daily expected move. We're going to see something crazy. You'd probably gap outside of this or start to break this early on in the day. So it'll be interesting to see. Oh, we're on a 4-hour. Ew, 4-hour. But yeah, CPI coming in like that, it's in line with all the previous ones. So if the Fed comes out and talks, or FOMC is dovish in any way, that actually can send stocks higher. But if it is not dovish, if it is hawkish, they say no cut, well then those yields are going to go even higher. Sorry, rough night. Coming down into support for high yield growth. Volatility not really confirming this 2-hour just yet. We need some more positivity here. Break out of this wedging, right? If we break out of this trend, that would be big. That would be very, very big. We might be in a bear market, and we might be able to use my trading strategy in the course. We might be able to do that, and that'll be very, very good. So I'm excited for that. Even though the trades for today didn't go too well, I'm following my technicals. I am following my technicals. This is going to be my stop loss. See if we can come down to this area down here. Hasn't hit it yet. SPY, this is exactly where the market expects us to go with that news. We could literally end the day up in this area, just so you know. But if we keep this selling, make sure we're not using this as resistance. Apple, this one. Yeah, I just got stopped out on that one. So Apple got stopped out on that one. That's okay, though. All we have to look for 30-minute come down, right? Come down like this, come down like this, and then go like that possibly. But if this just continues, right, the negativity is going to continue. Okay, you see that crossing over. Now this would invalidate a little bit of this until you make that another point of divergence. Then you could say, okay, now we have another point. So that's just a moment to get out, maybe get back in. TLT, same thing, right? Maybe this is a get out. Look for that to curl up, get back in. So we just got to be trading like water. It's perfectly fine. Stuff around now. Sorry, I'm changing some stuff around real quick. See, I'm moving. Look at me this morning. I'm moving. It's so bad. Oh, there it is. It snuck up on me there. Well, it didn't really sneak up, but. All right, let's pull this guy over here now, have this here, and we are set up and good to go. TLT looking like it wants to drop off a little bit more here. We'll pay attention to that. VIX starting to pop above the 200 again on the daily, guys. Above the 200 again on the daily. Just looking for this to kind of confirm, get outside of this. Remember, we could see some kind of bullish reaction and then see that pop off. This market will rip us back and forth. Just pay attention. Is SPY losing the daily expected move? That's what we really need to pay attention to today. If it's losing this daily expected move, then we can use it as resistance, okay? So the Qs aren't even towards it yet, and we're seeing a little bit of green trickle in, right? We're actually seeing Nvidia go green. Look at that. So even with that news, Nvidia is going green right now. AMD starting to turn around. Meta starting to turn around. Amazon starting to turn around. Everything kind of starting to turn around, except for Apple. Apple's not really turning around. Tesla looking like it needs to back off as well. IWM, that thing backed off dramatically. Look at that. That is not bullish, guys. This is not bullish at all. This is actually very, very bad. We are bottom Bollinger. You might want to reconnect. So we could see some kind of reaction like this now. Then we see that fail. Pay attention to that going forward today. No singing. Morning, never playing with crypto again. Plus, the Nvidia turned positive. Apple has been around for a while. I think the Qs are the market leader currently. Yeah, Qs are doing okay. Apple, we'll have to see if this thing wants to turn around. But notice one thing on Apple, right? Daily scale, we're still not turned over on that MACD. We can go test bottom Bollinger. Maybe that does turn us around on this MACD, right? We come down again. So pay attention. We really think, or at least I really think, Apple needs to hold up in this type of area, even if it goes just a tiny bit lower. It really needs to hold up. If it doesn't make some kind of divergence or flip around from here, this thing's negative trend can just keep taking over. Love the market this morning. Still seeing the bulls coming, so I am paying attention. Yeah, that's pretty much the point here is look for us to get some kind of bounce around the daily expected move. If that bounce doesn't come, well then we might have something to talk about. But overall, we talked about this creating an actual divergence down here, and now that's actually happening. Isn't Apple in a free fall below 165? I don't think it's in a free fall by any means. This is not a free fall. This is not like algorithmic sell. If you wanted a free fall, you need like stuff like this to continue, right? You see this little trading here, and then you move sideways for a minute and you see that continue. But you're not really seeing that. You move sideways and you see that continue. That's what you really want. But that's not necessarily happening. We're just having tapering a lot. So you see how we drop down, the angle is this, we drop down, the angle's this. That's tapering off a little bit. So you can actually find some supports in here. See if this 15-minute, look at that, little divergence on the 15-minute. What if this just quickly pops right back up? We'll have to see. We'll have to see. We're reacting, though, at this point, right? We're stopped out of this, so we have to see that turn around, get back in. Still looks like an okay trade. Tesla, this thing dropping off pretty dramatically. 15-minute getting towards the center line. Pay attention. Nvidia popping, dude. Nvidia is popping. So while the market's down 1%, Q's down almost 1%, Nvidia's up 1%. That might tell you something. The first reaction to the data might not be the right one. Remember, those are still, there's a way people can convince themselves it is good. And so we have to pay attention to that. The data, you need pretty much data that has no way of looking good, I think, to get this market to really crash down. Imagine if Nvidia was down, this market these would both probably be outside of their range, right? Because it's such a heavy weight. Good morning, Frank. Pray the market keeps crashing. That's what you think? Hey, that's all right. Just remember, if we start to get to these daily expected moves, it's good to take some profit and just play with house money at that point. all the data is bullish. I don't know if it's necessarily bullish, but it can be considered a little bit bullish just because of the um the fact that we're coming in at previous, right? We're not seeing huge tick ups. We're coming in at the previous. We're coming in at the previous. We're coming in at the previous. And then one of them, the inflation rate year over year, 3.5 over 3.2 over 3.4. But that's still just a 0.1 tick up there. You just have to think like people could convince themselves that it's bullish. If they do, this is where it's most likely going to hold up, and we're going to trap some bears this morning. But that doesn't mean we can't break down. So we just want to see, is this actually holding up, or is it breaking down using this as resistance heading lower? Just remember, it's very early on in the day. Knee jerk to the downside, it will swing back towards green by the end of day, buying the dip off of emotion. That is the worst. That is stagflation. Yeah, stagflation will just... It's hyperinflation and stagflation are the most probable things right now. So now that we're seeing that tick up, now we're going to have to hold these yields higher, or we're not going to be able to cut. I mean, cuts might be taken off the table with FOMC minutes later. Housing inflation and food is high. Yeah, you got something to say there. The housing sector really dropping off with that data. Look at that. Look at that huge drop off. That's something to pay attention to. Sometimes the housing market, the housing sector here, HGX, actually, you know, the market follows this trend after it makes the move. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Happy Friday. So let's just be open. Yeah, I think... Yeah, I think... Yeah, I got stopped out on TLT. So this one as well. One that you can just get out. Look at this. Get right back in. Get out, get back in. If this creates the divergence. If it doesn't create a divergence, then you got to be, you know, you don't really have the trade set up right. But at this point, 9107. Okay, we can do something here. Weekly range, the only place they expected it. Well, they actually expected to come down to 8940. So that's all the way down here, guys. So we can move all the way down. We have some room to the downside. If we wanted to create that divergence, we'd probably need to hold up in this area right here. See if we're rolling over on this 30-minute for the VIX. Volatility there. 10-year, though. Look at that thing. Just skyrocketing, able to come up to that 4.495. Remember, that's bad. That's really bad. Ugh. Sorry, guys. Dow reaction is down. Seeing if it creates another divergence point. If it would hold here, it'd create that divergence. But if not, it's just flushing, guys. So just be cautious with all this. Once we start to break through these daily expected moves, it's a big move, okay? So this is a big move to start the day. Just make sure we're not creating anything like this. We want to see that break through, retest, come down even lower. Maybe we come down to this area. Now, this area here actually would be pretty solid for a bounce, monthly, weekly, right by each other. That's why if you lead up to here, this area up here would be your resistance. So I think if we break through here, this is your main support. If we break to the upside, this is your main resistance, right? 513.09 on SPY as an area of interest, 511 and 508.13. So I just say this low is very good. Like, well, let's look at the low of this. Low 512.76. If you're looking for some supports in here, you can take the bottom of this wick here for if you break out 511.21, and then look for a gap fill. So gap fill here would be the close here 509.75, and then the weekly expected move. I think the weekly expected move has the best support here for sure. So we'll pay attention if that's able to keep breaking down today. Remember, this pattern of selling could continue until FOMC minutes. So we're going to be live a little bit later to watch those FOMC minutes. So let's pay attention to the cues. You see these haven't gotten to that daily expected move yet. So there is room to the downside. Home builders really dropping off. I know this is 3x leverage. I had a price target right here, 114.83. For if we dropped off, this is kind of my line in the sand. But right now we're testing these lows in here. Maybe we see some kind of bounce. That would be fine. But this is the kind of thing, I mean, you'd hope it's a little bit worse data than this, honestly. You'd hope it's just a little bit worse. The FOMC doesn't show something good for the markets. There are 3 weeks until the next FOMC conference. Yeah. I think they kind of have to say something good, or else this thing's going down with that info. People, you can see the momentum's tired. Q's the lowest I think it goes for now, 435.06, pretty much this low, which happens to be, let's see, the low here, 435.11, so just a little bit above 435.06. I'd pay attention to these weekly moves. Tesla, you said, dropping off pretty good. So this is where you can take those chances on these, right? You can take those chances. I'm just saying this was one I wasn't really playing, because we could just see that continue upward with a good CPI. Now that I know CPI is bad, well, that move was pretty quick, so I missed out on some of that move. Now I got to look for my next trade. Sorry, not Apple. Amazon. Amazon battling. Hey, look at that. So Amazon can come a lot lower, just so you know. That weekly expected move. Pretty low on that one. Breakdown was so fast, my broker and PC froze for a minute. The upside for today, you just want to see if that can turn back around on the 30-minute chart, right? You need to see this turn back around, go positive, and then you could head all the way up to 449 by the end of the day. That's not unheard of. We can see some wild price action. Volatility is higher now, up towards 16. Starting to roll a little bit, not able to fully break through. So even though this is a bearish moment, we're not seeing that fear really come back into the market. A big gap down like this, you would expect the fear to at least break through where it broke through yesterday. Let's see, Tuesday, not fully able to like break through and make a new high here, so just something to pay attention to. If you want this to turn around, though, 2 hour, remember to pay attention to this. This guy popping off, that would be very, very bad. This would say there's another move higher. So if the 2 hour can confirm, then you can probably get outside of this wedge here. Same with this 2 hour. If that can just roll up, you're still pretty close to positive. Nvidia now up 150. Look at that. So 2 hour about to maybe curl up for Nvidia here. That's pretty crazy. My thoughts on CPI was it was hot. It was hot, but there is a way for it to be considered okay. It came in with the previous on 3, and then it came in 0.1 above on the regular inflation year over year. So 3.5 over 3.4, tick up from 3.2. So it can be seen as bearish, but I could see how the market could actually bounce from here if it wanted to. But that doesn't mean I'm not taking anything at this point, right? I'm waiting for signals to confirm. So I'm waiting for Apple to fully base out and then curl back up, and then I'll be convinced, hey, the momentum, this is another play I can take. Boom, we get some kind of move. But yeah, and that's a very good point as well, Hector. Well, that's what they're telling us. They're telling us the data looks like this. Right there, this is the numbers they were willing to print, right? So 0.4, I'm just saying in line with previous, 3.8 in line with previous. Yes, these are tick ups from here, so you're seeing a negative reaction. That makes total sense. TLT, or the yields popping like that, yes, that makes total sense. 3.8, 4.4, or 0.4, 3.5. This is the one that actually ticked up from the previous, but was coming in just a little bit hotter than what it was expected here. Remember, they pay more attention to the core, so these coming in line with the previous, they can flip that into a positive statement by the end of the day. We'll see if that happens. TLT, though, you'd kind of expect this to be dropping off pretty hard, right? The 10-year going up to a higher point, right? So this point on Monday, it should be much lower than that. Excuse me. But notice we're just testing that level, so it's not necessarily making a huge new low here like it should. It really should be probably like down in this area for TLT, but that full reaction not coming in just yet. And this is where the manipulation can come in. I mean, look at this. Look at that. Look at that move for Nvidia right around that support level down here. AMD starting to get that reaction. Remember, this guy has that 2-hour divergence, so pay attention to that. Wasn't able to cross over on the MACD just yet. Meta buying back up. Microsoft not able to buy back up. Trying to wick. Let's see. Google not really dropping off that dramatically. Netflix trying to buy back up. Palo Alto buying up. SMCI buying up. So all these things we have to pay attention to today. Even Bitcoin starting to see a little bounce. 30-minute divergence. Take it with a grain of salt. 30-minute divergences on Bitcoin can fail pretty quick, but Nvidia almost up 2%. That's kind of wild. Apple still not catching a bid just yet. Finding an entry here, you just want to see this 15-minute curl back up. That's what I would pay attention to, but Apple probably might even head towards its weekly expected move to the downside. 164 area, so there is room for some downside here. You just say this needs to bounce from here because SPY's already at its daily expected move. And we're starting to see some green, guys. Rug pull would be lethal. Yeah, it really depends. Watch yield and not CPI. Lies. Yeah, yields are just cracking. Yields are going insane, but I'm just saying TLT not matching this move right now. Maybe the TL or the 20 years more likely, right? TLT 20-year. Everything's loading a little slow. Maybe I'm clicking around too much. Remember, we are going to be live for the FOMC minutes, okay? We are going to be live later for the FOMC minutes. We might just let the market do the market stuff during the little bit later in the morning here. So maybe doing like another hour or so here, and then we're going to come back for FOMC minutes. And FOMC minutes, there's a lot riding on that now. Like a lot riding on that now. Index, HGX, that is bad. That is bad. That's the housing sector right there. That's not good. But maybe we're retesting. We got to really take back some of these levels, right? This trend goes way back, so if we can retake that, that'd be all right. But as of right now, touching that weekly or that daily expected move to the downside. Nvidia is a wild stock. You're right about that. Nvidia is a wild stock, man. 2-hour about to curl up. Now, remember this about Nvidia, okay? Right now, it is in a 2-hour negative trend. So if we do get some kind of pop, even like this, well, it's going to take a lot of time for that to go positive. So that has to go like that to go positive again. The most likely scenario is we're going to do something like that, which would get us towards that center line and cross us back down. And then this might be the moment where things kind of come down. So remember, the manipulation can happen here, and we can start to see upward moves in some stocks today if FOMC gives us a cookie. But we have PPI and we have bank earnings on Friday. Do you think we were losing breadth in the market? It looked like we were getting breadth prior to April sell-off. Yeah, it looks like we are. You're waiting for small caps to really jump in. I think it's small caps that are really lagging behind, right? So if we go IWM and things like that, this hasn't been strong, like really this year. It's been coming up into this area. We're breaking out of some structure as of right now, but just look, it hasn't really built back up to higher levels over a long period of time. We're still sitting at, well, the price right now is at the same price we were at back in August 2022. Back in, what is this, May, April 2022, back in January 2022. So you're still right there. This is really what you needed to participate, most likely. Eventually, stocks will fall like crazy. Stock market crash will come when we least expect it. Currently, things are very obvious. Too much complacency. Yeah, it's a little bit obvious, and that's why I'm saying maybe one more fake out would be what we kind of want to happen. Maybe it's good to look at the daily scale, right? We can come retest these moving averages. If this starts to cross, I think you need this to buy up by end of day, because if this starts to cross, then you're probably going to test the 50 down at this weekly expected move. PPI was hot last time, guys. PPI was hot. Okay, so if you look at this, I just want to show you guys the PPI down here. Last time it came in at 0.6. We're only going at 0.3, 0.4. So this is one I would really be paying attention to, PPI month over month. I think that'll be very telling for where stocks are going to go tomorrow. And that comes out at 7:30, so an hour before open tomorrow. And then we do have some Fed speakers on Friday. But on Friday, we mainly want to pay attention getting some bank earnings. Oil. So 11:45, pay attention when Goolsby is talking. But Qs right now, look at that, starting to bounce a little bit. IWM, let's see if it's running into, well, bottom Bollinger. So it's testing bottom Bollinger with the crossing here. That makes sense. We can get some kind of reaction up from here. We'll have to see. Apple still dropping off. Maybe going to cross on this MACD. We'll have to see. But as of right now, still dropping off. And we'll have to see if that creates this divergence down here. It still has the potential to create a divergence. We just have to see some kind of positivity here in order to actually take the trade, right? We need this to curl back up. I would just look for a 15-minute to go positive. Once this actually goes positive, I'd be confident in it. Break through this high maybe, then I can play the breakout. But as of right now, dropping off, just continuing to drop here. As Nvidia just continues, it's up 1.5. Look at that. Meta's green now, guys. So Meta's green. SMCI is green. That's kind of wild for today. Oh, God. And weirdly enough, the SPY, if you can turn around this 15-minute, you have divergence here forming. So you do have a 15-minute divergence as of right now that's forming. See if that confirms. That could mean we're actually heading up from here. So look for that to break down and not be able to confirm this divergence, or confirm it and just roll right back over, get towards the center line, roll over. That's what I would look for today. But as we compile up in this area, we can buy. People could start to buy, and then we see that thing take off. But just be willing to flip the script soon if it does go positive. Still, investors getting smart day by day. Yeah, I think so. I think a lot of people were calling the downside today. And that was true. Good job. Good job if you were able to call that. IWM top holding, SMCI and MSTR, both pretty much meme stocks. Yeah. I mean, I think you're in some type of bubble there, so meme stock, I don't know about meme stock, right? We can go look at some meme stock. AMC. That thing. I actually saw a video last night. I didn't click on it, but I saw a video title last night saying AMC, or I think it's AMC or AMC, I think is worth $100, and we're about to experience another short squeeze. And if you look at small caps, if you look at it, I mean, that's possible. But I was like, to 100, nah, you guys are trying to make history repeat itself. It's not. The market makers won't let that type of action happen again, where AMC randomly goes to 300. Yo, I was like, I don't see. They're like, it's gonna bounce this week, and we're gonna go to 100. And I just looked at the chart, and I'm like, I don't see it. Waiting for entries now. Waiting for entries. TLT still holding up at this level down here. 30-minute, what I really want to pay attention to, right? Seeing that triple divergence come in across the board down here at these lows. That would be interesting. Oh, yeah, and I believe that too. Happy Friday. Yeah, MACD here. Pretty standard, 12, 26, 9 smoothing. Nothing too crazy, Mike. Reddit dumping. Let's go check that out. Ooh, not looking good. Yeah, IPOs do this all the time, so I think we were saying, you know, when Reddit was up here, I'm like, hey, yeah, Reddit can go up here, right? It can, but it can also come all the way back down to here. Well, Sox better be liking that Nvidia pop. That seems to be holding it up a little bit here. You gotta see if this 2-hour crosses for volatility. I think that's very telling. Excuse me. Johnny boy, you like to hike? Welcome to the channel. What do you think of TLT? Well, that dropped off. Obviously, it coming in a little bit hotter, that's going to cause a drop off. My stop got taken out. And now I'm just looking if I can get back into this move with some kind of triple divergence, right? It still doesn't look bad on the 2-hour or the, well, most likely the daily looks really good. The 2-hour, if this rollover happened, that wouldn't be good. We'd probably head down to like 90, something like 89, 89.50-ish. So if that keeps going, that would be bad. But I'm going to tell you right now, the FOMC does not want these yields up here. This causes bank failures above 4.495 will cause banks to really start to struggle. And so they may come out a little bit dovish. We'll have to see, though. We have to react based on how they are. Really talking. Puts coming into the market right now. So just be willing to flip. But as of right now, my stops were taken out. So I just want to see, is there any kind of triple divergence down here that forms? Look where we are, positive territory. So if we turned around from here, I'd say, yeah, this is probably the moment where TLT actually pops. So looks headed to 86. I think 89, 90 looks pretty good. Nvidia flipping. Is that thing starting to sell off now? Uh-oh, if this thing sells off, that would be very, very bad news. AMD not able to stay positive. Well, Meta not able to stay positive. Excuse me. I mean, I don't know when you should get in. We got to wait for signals to actually confirm to show setups, but I would just say TLT. If this thing turns around right now, you'd have a point to get in. If this thing can just whoop right back up, you have a point to get in. Kind of same with Apple. If this thing turns right back up right now, boom, you have a point to get in. You still have a point to get in for Apple if this can turn around right now, right? My stop's taken out, keeping those decently tight in here. Stop's taken out. Now we have to see this turn back around. I just don't want to be in any more downside at this point. So 164 or something like that, I think, is a good area. Yeah, it's 164.50 that we're really paying attention to. But if you just look down below, 165.77, 165-ish area, 165.50, 165.70, something like that would make a lot of sense for this to creep down to and then see a reaction. But you got to wait for your signals to start to confirm. If you want to go a little deeper into this 15-minute, you still have that divergence kind of flat down here, divergence across the way over here. So we can still see this is some good selling, though, right? You can see this is some pretty good selling. It's just straight down. That's good selling. So be careful catching a falling knife here. You don't want this to just keep continuing or flag and then continue again, right? So you need this to V-shape. You need this to V-shape, I think. Tesla trying to hold up a little bit there. Amazon 15-minute charts here. Nothing really going positive. Nvidia going positive for a moment, but this is where moment of truth. You're right about to go positive. You saw the strong move before you were positive. So now you have a chance to consolidate and then see that positivity really come in. Meta able to flip to the green side again. Once again, going positive, right? Strong move before going positive territory. So you can start to do this. Now, that would make a lot of sense if we did that right before CPI, or not CPI, FOMC minutes. That would make sense. I'll be right back. Give me 1 second. And we're back. Sorry, I needed coffee, you guys. I can't make it through today without coffee. Are you kidding me? 10-minute MACD crossing on the SPY. Oh, sorry, I left you guys on Meta. I meant to leave you guys on the SPY so we could see how it's reacting as of right now. Seeing if that can curl up. I think 15-minute curling up is good. One thing I wanted to mention about this data, right, is we were talking about for a long time, we need really bad news to convince this market to go down. Yes, those yields heading up to there is some very bad news, but according to a regular retail guy in the market, they would maybe see this as okay, right? And so last print, we ended up higher after the last print. I know that we experienced a downturn and then it ended up higher, but you'd have to say they can convince themselves this is good. So it needs to be really bad news to tear down, in my opinion. And is this really bad news? Let me organize real quick. Sorry, guys. I don't think this is bad enough, but we know, hey, these numbers are cooked most of the time. It's probably much worse than what we're seeing in the actual print. Never drank coffee in my life. Ooh. Ooh. Any new data today? Yeah, CPI. Yeah, I was today. J-Dub saying tomorrow's probably green. Interesting. Apple's starting to see this wicking up. IWM seeing some wicking out of this zone. Nvidia still whooping. Amazon still trying to whoop. And AMD starting to drop off a little bit there. Can't trust you, Booster. You've never had coffee before. We can't trust anything you say now. I mean, if we're gonna, I mean, you're breaking through some key supports here on a lot of stuff. What do I think about Nvidia? I think if this 2-hour can curl up, I mean, this is what we were talking about kind of in the videos. This 2-hour curls up, you can see a positive move. It's just, does that fully go positive, right? Do we see some kind of strong move like this, and then it just fails with some kind of bank earnings or something like that? Right now, you're in a negative trend. Okay, so that's something to note that's different. You're in a negative trend here on the MACD. So anything pops towards the center line, right? Any pop towards the center line, that can be drifted back down at this point. So I'd just pay attention to Nvidia if it even goes positive. See if that crosses back down negative territory. That would be when the big flush might be coming. Oh, T's good. T's not bad. Yes, Anush, yes. It is that is a pretty good way to put it. It probably should be after 2 CPIs going up in a row, but I know that this market is manipulated, so therefore I traded accordingly. We didn't break down. If it wasn't being manipulated, well, hey, we probably would have seen a gap all the way down to here, and then we would use this as some resistance. So you can still break through this by end of day, use it as resistance and head down a little bit. Right now, you'd have to say from the weekly standpoint, the direction to test one of these weeklies is down. So if we want to start to target the upper weekly again, we're going to need positivity to come in by end of day. Blush would be, we take out probably the 20 here, definitively 2 bars below the 20, right? Whenever we see the 20, we get some kind of bounce back. I think you want 2 bars, you want this to cross over, and 2 bars, and then from there you have to say, oh, I'm at my weekly now. So it's a very still interesting, difficult, however you want to put it, market at this point. All you need to know is if it comes down to this area and we see that wrap back around, well, 2-hour might just go positive. So we're paying attention to this. As of right now, you have divergence even on the 2-hour down here on the RSI. So if we see a bounce here, we can get a solid one. QQQ holding up a little bit higher, right? Not able to break down. Kind of the similar one to this right here, right? Or actually, I believe, what was it? Let me see here. 30-minute. Let's do 30-minute. It was this one here, right? So this one, the daily expected move was down in this area, but SPY was testing its daily expected move, and we saw that bounce back. So right now you're seeing a similar thing where the SPY is kind of testing that daily expected move while the Q is able to hold up a little bit better. Well, what happened yesterday? Well, we ended up here. So if we get some good news throughout the day, we can end up here. We can end right back where we started. But I would say Nvidia really needs to hold. Nvidia is holding up the market right now. Yeah. Got my Java just came in. Rotation is happening. Buckle up. So, what do you think they're rotating to as of right now? Because we're seeing Nvidia pop, and that is interesting. And I think we actually, if we see Nvidia fully participate, we're probably going to see other things start to react as well. And yeah, plunge protection team. That's overall what it is, and that's why, weirdly enough, we're going to get FOMC minutes today, right? So. Bulls are getting trapped today? You think bulls are getting trapped today? I would say there's potential for bears to get trapped today. The trap already happened up in this area, and I got stopped out of both of my trades. Gold, seeing that buy back up with that print. Oil, seeing that still fade back down. That's interesting. The inflation play is still on, then you'd most likely see these things start to head higher. If you're looking for a bigger move in gold here, well, that 30-minute curls up, positive territory. We'll see another move higher. A lot of people calling like 300 for gold. A lot of people calling 300 for GLD. Apple, look at that, able to buy back up as of right now. As of right now. You guys, we were on a hot streak. We were calling it and calling it and calling it and calling it, and then CPI didn't really. It came in at consensus, is what I would say. I mean, it came in at the previous, so I don't think people would say that is like horrible by any means. But TLT getting the reaction. This is the correct reaction, right? This is the correct reaction, but I don't think the market's reacting correctly to this. This is huge, and the Qs aren't even down 1%. Right, the Q is only down 0.88. Look at this move. You're up 3% in 30 minutes. And the Qs are only down 0.85. That is some wrong behavior there. Dollar skyrocketing up, right? Skyrocketing up, testing this high point here again, back from Tuesday, April 2nd, right? So really you would say this market should be testing levels like April 2nd. Well, April 2nd was way up here. So now this is the correct reaction, most likely according to the dollar, right? Coming down to here. But if you look at the dollar over time, it really should have probably topped out around here and be like this. Google, 30-minute here. Look if that wants to curl up. Remember, Google, this is a great trade setup, right? You have 30-minute divergence up here. You got 2-hour divergences up here. You got daily divergence across. It's telling you like, hey, a big drop is coming. Will that happen today? We have to see how things react after FOMC minutes. I still think that, like someone just said, this would be a little bit obvious if it's just CPI takes us down. Now it can be that obvious, but I'm just stating we weren't able to close or open up below this area. If you're going to see a crash setup, you're probably going to close below this area. You're going to use this. You're going to see a bounce over the next day, and then you go into the next week and see that turn back down. But as of right now, we're buying back up. We are buying back up. Apple getting some green going finally. Tesla getting some green going. Amazon green going. Nvidia big green going. AMD, which you just asked about. This one here, not able to cross and go negative at this point. Remember, AMD, look at this guy, crossed over 2-hour divergence here. Good potential for upside, actually. So good potential for upside if we could see some positivity. I think you need to see that positivity first, because at this point, negative trend, daily negative territory. So this can just keep dropping, right? You're below the 50, you're below all your moving averages. There's so much resistance above you now that any pop you take, you got to be willing to flip pretty quick. So I think we get a 2-hour pop maybe, and then that drops. But I could be wrong. We take out this level, it could be all bets are off and this thing's going down. I think there's potential. I'm not gonna say too much about whether it will go up tomorrow. I think you really have to pay attention to the FOMC minutes for that to happen, and we're gonna be live for that. But we're gonna hop off here in like 40 minutes or so, and that way I can just reload, maybe go to the gym, get some food in me, and then we can be back for the FOMC minutes. So make sure you're liking, subscribing, and make sure to turn on notifications today, guys. We're doing a different stream, right? A random stream in the afternoon. So there won't be a YouTube video tonight. So if you want the YouTube video, well, we're just going to do a breakdown when the market closes. Tomorrow morning, we'll give out those daily expected moves, and I'll post them to Patreon, the daily expected moves. That way Patreon people have them tonight. Oh, goodness. The Qs even have divergence on the weekly. Yeah, so that's something we've talked about. Weekly divergence on the Qs, monthly divergence on the Qs. It's not looking good for the long term. No, I'm not getting off right now, Marina. I got 40 more minutes. Don't say see you later yet. I'm just saying like, subscribe. I used to be able to swing trade, but I feel with all the data drops, I only feel comfortable day trading is my approach. Right? Yeah, you're just stating you would like to flip back and forth more often. Usually, swing trades can last a little bit, right? We can hold those daily crosses. We hold it for a few days, but when you get so many data drops, it's very hard because you'll see some big swings back and forth a lot of the time. So I don't think you're wrong in day trading it. I would just say try to, in an environment like this, if you want to help your risk a little bit, just take those, even if you're going to sell it that day or the next day, just take a 2-week out play. It'll help you if there's any kind of drop you weren't expecting or anything like that. 2 hour here, you actually have divergence at these lows a little bit, so that's something to pay attention to. 30-minute, a little bit of a divergence there, even in the near price action. This one here, if you look at the 15, you have a little divergence right here. I'm just stating that this could just be some kind of flagging, right? So be careful if that selling comes back in, but as of right now, 15-minute, if that can curl up, might be some upside to be had. Discount IT Solutions. Thank you so much for subscribing. Really appreciate you being here. Make sure you turn those notifications on. We're going to be live later today, and I think FOMC is going to be obviously the next really important thing. Our old dog is just like running back and forth. Yeah, and Robert, if you're able to do that, even buying a month out or something like that, like let's show you. I'll do this. Take Apple for example. If you take this play, like 15-minute crosses, you see divergence. Okay, boom, you see the divergence all across the 2 hour, and this thing crosses to the upside. You take that. I would still do 2 weeks to 4 weeks out on my expiration, and then you're like most likely I would, if I do 4 weeks out, I can take a little bit further away out of the money type call, and then that position will 100% if this moves like 4 points. So if you get this to move 4 points up, 2% move, 2.5% move, it's going to double. You just get out. That's how I've been doing things, and it's really been working for me lately. I just look for that to go like this. Okay, doubled pretty quick. Now I'm out. Like the videos, guys. We got 192 watch. Let's give the man some likes, folks. Thank you guys so much for doing that. Appreciate you guys. Tesla, another downgrade here for Tesla, huh? So this could just be flagging, right? So we have to be careful for any flagging on these 15-minute charts. I see those hearts popping up. You guys are liking. Thank you, thank you. But you are good selling, right? Good drop off here. Maybe you can go into like a futures or something like that. Pull up a 2 hour. You see that selling come in. But where are we according to even the futures here? Well, we're right by positive territory. We're actually creating that divergence pretty good down here. You see that big divergence between down here and up here, down here and over here. So there is potential for a good bounce here. I know that's crazy to say, but it's there. The US 100 not able to take out this low. Now this one looks bearish. This one definitely looks bearish. You have one divergence between here. And the 2 hour on the futures, I would compare to a 30-minute chart on the actual indice. That's how I do it. So 30-minute looks a lot like the 2 hour a lot of the time. Well, what do you see in here? Oh, divergence. Same as that 2 hour on the S&P 500 futures there. Oh, yeah, Exxon. Okay, this looks like a decent swing trade, I think, actually now. Yeah, look at that. So this is what you expect with that reading. Like that crosses up positive territory. Here's your in. Now it's all the way up here. Now we can, really start to scoop this up and make a new high as we test this one. we have a little bit of room here. Look how overbought we got here to make that divergence. So you have a few bars of positivity left here. Now, something crazy that could happen with PPI tomorrow. PPI came in really hot last time, 0.6 over 0.3. Now we're looking at 0.3 again. What if we come in at 0.3? That could be seen as good news. So now, if the reaction today is not that bad, look out, because then a piece of good data will just people will totally forget about this. People will forget about all of this completely and be like, oh, good piece of data. You know what I mean? Why'd Nvidia pump at the open? Well, probably Spin One Master would know that, but overall, I think it's just manipulation. And remember, we said they're going to end up using Nvidia, AMD to really keep things higher, stuff that people are euphoric about. So if they can hold Nvidia higher, tomorrow there's a good PPI print. Boom, you can literally see Nvidia pop, right? Nvidia can go all the way up to like 940, but you gotta wait for FOMC minutes. You gotta wait for these type of things to actually confirm, at least even for Apple on the 15-minute. You need to see this go positive, I would say. Nvidia is a golden child to keep the market running, so they load it. Exactly. That's kind of what I'm saying. I still think we have a move higher, but I'm definitely open to the downside now with today. With that CPI print, it just wasn't. Maybe this is the correct way to say it, how we've said it in the past, right? So was today's CPI bad enough to convince all of these very bullish people that it is horrible and we need to start heading down? Is it really bad enough? Well, it's coming on with the last month. So pretty much it's almost the same as the last month, a little bit higher inflation year over year. But the core inflation exactly the same as last month. Well, what happened last month? We dropped off, right? We dropped off in these areas here. Maybe it was this one. I don't really recall fully, but maybe it was this one here. Maybe it was one of these drops. What happened? What happened? What happened? So was it bad enough? Well, it's the same as last time. Actually, I think this might have been PPI. This might have been CPI. Sell-off was there, but the next day it just creeps right back up. Maybe it was way over. No, that was February. $100x earnings. What could go wrong? A lot. 100x, 100 times wrong. It could be 1% down times 100. That'd be 100%. Feels like we're tighten up for a volatile move. Well, let's look at volatility. What's volatility trying to tell us here? The fear's not here, guys. The fear is not here. If this was really bad news, you're going to see this happen very, very quickly. But here's the thing. The longer we sit up above the 200, guys, the longer we sit up above the 200, the closer and closer this 50 gets to crossing. Isn't that a scary moment, right? Isn't that a scary moment if that would happen? So we got to just pay attention. 30-minute here. Looks like it might roll down again. Negative territory. We can even go into a 15-minute. See if there's anything here. Well, what do we see? We have divergence. Oh, not necessarily divergence, actually. We didn't really fully test this high. And this came up a little bit above it. So no divergences, anything like that. But 15-minute, you're going to notice when this thing rolls up, volatility spike. When it rolls down, volatility drops off. So if this rolls down, the thing that I would say would be bullish is if that goes fully negative. One thing I think you don't want to happen for volatility, or maybe you do if you want to see this thing crash down, you need this 2 hour to cross. So the fact that we're rejecting the cross as of right now, you're not seeing that fully cross anymore. It was slightly crossed for a moment. Now we're seeing that drop off. If this drops off, goes negative, that could be a sign we want to head lower. Remember volatility, look at the daily side. This thing up here, what if that curls down? What if we see a few days, even a week's worth of buying, and then that curls right back up? I think these earnings on Friday could be more of a sudden bad news than what we're getting right now. VIX and gold are chatting right now. Well, and SQQQ is a decent play. I mean, I guess if you're playing a long-term, well, long-term, maybe just hold that thing for only like 2 weeks. But as of right now, you're testing that 50 again for the Qs. So there's not a ton of bad things to happen right now. You're not losing the 50. You're still in the same area you were just a few days ago, right? So if this thing can creep back up to here again, like it did yesterday, creep back up, well, then that would produce a green bar at this point. What if we just see, you know, some big good news and this thing just starts to flood to the upside? We'll have to see. But if FOMC comes out and says no rate cut again, boom, that might be over. It might be done. SPY able to drop lower on the daily side of things. Now seeing that buy up where? Right around that daily expected move. So like the video for those daily expected moves, seeing these kissing right now, seeing these, you don't want that cross to happen. So I think if we're going to go up from here, you need to probably close the day above these moving averages, in my opinion. Yeah, and that's the more probable trade, right? That we're going to see upside from this daily expected move. Take it with a grain of salt. We could head towards the weekly. This isn't good news by any means, but you'd have to say, is this bad enough news for the market to crash because of it? I wouldn't say so. I wouldn't say so. And I do believe the numbers are cooked, but we're going to get a reaction based off the number people see. Now we're seeing that buy back up. So really, I think you're highly probable to end the day back closing the gap or something like that. Maybe even by CPI, we're trying to close that gap, or by FOMC minutes, we're trying to close that gap, and then we see the next move. Apple's starting to creep up. Look at that, coming up a little bit there, all right? So this 15-minute can cross positive territory. You have divergences all along here. Still there. It's just like, it's kind of like we were talking about. You get in, you get back out. You get in, you get back out. You get in, you get back out, right? Crosses up, I'm in. I'm out. I'm back in. I'm out. I'm back in. I'm out. Now I'm back in. This one will probably work out for us, but we'll have to see. Now me, I kind of scaled in, then I got stopped out. So now I'm just going to scale in again. If this wants to pop up, I'm just going to take a position that would make me my money back and make me some more money in the future. But I can even see that loss real quick here. Loss of about, on that option, 22% on that. So that's why it's good to have those stops in place, though. Think of Apple. Apple could have, if I just held this down here, well, that could be worth, you know, much less down here. We have that weekly expected move still well below us, 164.50, something like that. So now I can just see, oh, if this curls up, I still have the divergence. I actually have triple divergence now on the near price action for the 15 minutes. So weirdly enough, this area here, not bad. If we can continue into positive territory, that is very important. If you just come to the center line and roll again, that's not going to be good. One play from weeks ago closed out. Nvidia, like we've said in the videos when we talk about manipulation, what stocks are they going to use? The euphoric ones, I think. Now, I do know a lot of investors are talking about Apple because Apple's been beat down for so long. It's at a good price for people, so definitely got to work on stop losses. Yeah, it'll help you out a lot. And the thing is, like, what I even could have done, like with TLT, something I didn't do, which I normally do, is I see a pop higher, right? And I try, well, now the price action skipped me here, so it might not have got my stop loss, but right in here, this is where I would move my stop loss to. So originally here, see a big pop, now it's here, so I at least make some money if we cross below there. Then if we curl back up, I can be right back in the move, right? But as of right now, before a big day, I like to put those stop losses in. Thoughts on TLT long? I think it looks good. I do. I mean, now it doesn't look good right at this second. You know what I'm saying? Right at this second. But I think once this actually plays out, we're going to see a huge move from TLT. And I think that will just blow off to the upside. I think that the 10-year, they're not going to want this to sit at these levels, guys. They really won't. for very long. If we start to head above there, just look back. I mean, was it September 25th? Something like that. I want you to see. September 25th was right about here. So the last time we broke through that level, what ended up happening? Well, we broke down, busted up, broke back down. And that was all because those yields were starting to head higher. So I'm worried something like this can take place right now. But I think that where TLT's at, where the yields are at, I don't think they want it above that level. So if it stays above that level, we're going to see the similar behavior, right? We're going to see similar behavior. But if it can be pushed back down, which ironically FOMC is today, right? So they can literally do it themselves. Yeah, and that's the other thing too. You got to take TLT with a grain of salt because a lot of people don't even trust it anymore, right? We have Janet Yellen just freaking printing new bonds like crazy. But look at that move, guys! Look at that move. Apple, look at that move. I mean, even IWM started buyback. Like everything's starting to react at this moment. Meta well into the green. Look at this 2 hour. Can that curl up? Maybe I want to go into an hourly. It's pretty close to the center line. If that curls up, we're probably going to see another positive move from Meta. Well, Apex, that's the difference between the SPY and the Qs. The difference between the SPY and the Qs is actually something you see at some tops, right? You see the SPY head higher while the Qs don't match that. We've seen that for a few times throughout this run, and every time that gets violated, right? It ends up going back up. So the 2 hour here, just noticing that they're stuck right here. You're completely right. If we start to break through some key levels, though, we can head a lot higher, right? This is bottled up for some time in here. Big move could be coming. Now, if that goes, SPY goes insane and Qs match this high and start to fail, that would be pretty telling. But let's look at that SPY. Remember, 15-minute divergence is here. So this is telling you, hey, I got the chance to pop. What would the 15 do? Well, it might roll up the hourly. Hourly has divergence as well. So that might pop too. And then that would say, hey, what about my 2 hour? 2 hour could go pop up into positive territory here. You have divergence across the RSI down here. And not necessarily a good divergence between the MACD here, right? Not necessarily the best because it's up a little bit. So you can't really trust that on the 2 hour. But on the shorter time frames, you see them. If this can go positive here, you're seeing that on the RSI for sure. This is looking good, coming up towards that center line. So if you see that RSI cross and then this MACD will cross after that, boom, big move coming. Apple, look at that wick. Look at that wick. And the 2 hour was not able to roll over, guys, on Apple. That is very big. That is huge. If we reject that crossing, the first reaction might not have been the right one. What's up, Alan? Inflation is so good for markets. Yeah, well, that's what they said last time. A Fed speaker came out the last time this actually ticked up and we got a reaction down. And a Fed speaker came out and said some inflation in the market is actually a good thing. If we see a few tick ups, that would be a good thing. And I immediately came out and said that is a lie, that is manipulation, that is gaslighting. How dare they gaslight us? Didn't Japan just raise their rates or something like that, or cut rates? I can't remember. Basically, itchy. 201 people. Just make sure you're subscribed, guys. Make sure you're subscribed with those notifications on so you can join us in the afternoon when we're watching that FOMC minutes happen. What time does FOMC minutes come out? About 2 hours before the end of the day, right? So 1 o'clock my time, aka 2 hours before close, we will be back on here live talking. And then look out, Fed Goolsby speech is at 11:45 here in a couple hours. So a couple hours from now, you got a Fed speaker. Raising rates, that's what it was. Yeah, they raised their rate to 0.1. I wonder if SPY fails to break 516.64, then once the FOMC meeting starts, watch it reverse. It very well could. You're starting to, I mean, all of this is technically going to be gap resistance, gap resistance, gap resistance. So it makes sense. I would look for us to close this and set up the next trap maybe before FOMC. Just know that the main leader behind the FOMC, right, Jerome Powell. And how has he been? Very, very dovish. So we'll have to see what they're going to say. They could even come out and just not like the fact that the yields are up here and announce, yeah, we're planning on doing 2 to 3 rate cuts by the end of the year. And once they solidly say that again, because right now they're saying some, right now they're saying we might not be able to. What if they just said, oh yeah, we're going to cut rates by the end of the year? Well, this thing would just fall right back down. So I know that's predicting what he's going to say. Let's just react to what the FOMC minutes says. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, Japan's kind of cool. It has been in deflation, but Japan, if you didn't remember, actually went through hyperinflation in their history, and that was ugly. That was very ugly. I used the to decide whether to buy your trading course. It hit number 29, the abysmal waters, so I bought it. What is that? Wait, what? What? I don't know what that is, ER. Tell me about it. I don't even know what you're talking about. I'm into it. That's cool. Thank you for buying the course. Trade like water. Oh, okay. Oh yeah, in the 80s, their equivalent to the SP had a bubble twice the size of the .com. Yeah, that's what I remember. I used to look at all that stuff. I thought you said abysmal. I was like, abysmal? My course is abysmal? No. Headline after market close, the market shake off inflation. There you go. Here's the headlines. Here we go. Let's see what happens. The fear being sucked back out. Seeing the 2-hour curl back down, not confirming the upside in volatility. Qs seeing a solid bounce. SPY seeing a solid bounce. IWM. Well, it bounced out of the zone. Now it's back in it. That's kind of interesting. Apple still not going green here. Tesla just kind of in a little bit of a tough spot here. No divergences, but guess what? We're towards that center line. You cross over on this 2-hour, bad news comes out. So Amazon heading a little bit higher. Maybe we want to look at the shorter time frames, right? The 30-minute getting very close to positive territory. So if you're looking for the swing trade, if you start to see this pop up here and then you get good news from the FOMC, boom, Amazon probably going to make a strong move. Nvidia still strong at this moment. If everything was great in the economy, they wouldn't have to tell us every day. We would know exactly. Instead, it's the opposite. They tell us it's great, and we all know it's bad. It's kind of like how they're still telling you your political opponent's a racist, your political opponent's this person. It's like eventually we just get tired of hearing it and we turn the TV off. They keep telling us it's good, but the economy's bad. But you'll notice that the hamster wheel keeps turning because people just follow exactly what they say. I literally get like some emails that tell me I'm a psychopath for thinking that the market's going to crash in the next like year. And I'm like, okay. Like, buy the fast dip is the winning formula. Yeah, and that's overall. We were prepared for this, right? Because of our daily expected moves. This is why this is such a good tool, right? If you didn't have this little red line here and you saw this move, what would you think? What would you be thinking? Well, you'd be thinking, oh, we're going to head much lower. This is the crash, right? Big drop down. But because we have this red line, we know, hey, there's potential to hold up from here. Yeah, a lot of people who probably lost money yesterday end up emailing me, sending some hurtful things. Carries on the business of teaching. Oh, ER, that is so nice. Sorry, I just read that, ER. Thank you. Yeah, keep teaching. And then the thing is, like part of trading in the market is like you don't feel like you're really producing much good into the world. Like you're just clicking numbers, right? So teaching allows you to put some good back into the world, I think. A lot of pullback, but quit quite a ways to go to the top again. Been following the same pattern for years. Yeah, it's going to be very difficult to buy back up from this area still, right? We're in negative trends on a lot of stuff. Even Nvidia, guys, even Nvidia. Look at the 2-hour. Sure, that might cross, but remember, this is still in a negative trend, so a likelihood for a lower high is actually pretty probable here. So if we want this to buy back up, you have to get into positive territory again. This has to like boom, and I just don't see that. I see us going up to here and then bank failures or something like that, or the bank earnings are bad or something like that. But you're right, pulled out of Exxon with a 125 profit. Nice. Let's go take a look at that real quick. Exxon heading higher. Look at that. Remember, this 30-minute was giving us a little bit of a hint here that it had a little potential upside here. Crosses up. Positive territory. Boom. Entry point right in here. Even this, guys, by the way, something you can note that we don't talk about a lot. If you want to get in early on something, look for this bar right before you cross for the RSI to be above the center line. The RSI can get you in just a tiny bit earlier because this one's lagging a little bit. So if you want to really take the play, sometimes you can take the RSI if it's above the center line and then see if that crossing happens. That cross happens, you see the upside. So that's just something to note, just something we don't talk about very often. But you can. I like full confirmations, right? So I like this bar, but my whole strategy would tell me this bar is the one to get in. Dead Cat Bounce says Lil AR 15. Silver 28.45. Crazy perhaps AR. As long as NQ does not trade lower than the lows last week, just buy the dip. Yeah, I think DD's thinking simple. DD thinking simple. I like simple. Simple's great. Simple is fantastic in a market, right? We just flip back and forth. We trade the signals. Exxon broke out of a long-time consolidation, but it's been up on an up run for a while. Wait till it comes back to the breakout on a daily bounce, or I wanted to stay in. But I do think you have potential for this to start dropping off. I think this inflation play might end today or tomorrow. I really do. I think this inflation play might end this week. I'll say that just because of where it's at, the daily side. If inflation is going to come back in, I think what they're going to do is try to fight it for a little bit till the next data drop. So boom, maybe we come back down to the 20. That's what I would say. But just because it looks like it needs some kind of pullback. So what you can do with the inflation play here is be down, look at this curl up. Maybe earnings allows that to curl up, entry point, kind of trade it like a swing trade. Check out the weekly chart, though. Okay, I'm checking. Yeah, that's a breakout. That is a breakout out of consolidation. You even got, weirdly enough, almost like a inverse Wyckoff, right? Getting this down here. We test that level again. We break to the upside. That fails. We test this level. Actually, not necessarily because you tested these lower levels, but that curls back up. Positive territory. Good move. So really, if you were just trading the weekly here, you just get into this move. Now, I don't know if I would take a lot of these divergences seriously at this point because those already kind of played out. Maybe you need to go make a new one. Maybe this goes like this, and then we see inflation come back in the future. That would be freaky. I would just look for if this weekly is going positive or negative to see some sort of sudden drop. If we see a pullback, I'd say the 20 for the weekly come down like this. Then we see that rip higher. I would just really, though, the daily, if you see some kind of pullback, crossover on the MACD, positive territory, cross back up. I'm trying to keep it really simple. AMD is slow death. Yeah, you got to be aware of some downside. Now you're crossing down on the MACD, so you got to look for that bottom side of the range. That's why a lot of the time I wait for the ranges to be hit. Even this Apple one, I wouldn't normally take. Okay, I wouldn't normally take something like this. I like the highly, highly probable trades, which means these have to be hitting weekly ranges and things like that. So Nvidia actually was the high likely one for a bounce, and now it got that bounce. So this is the one I actually probably should have played. Like the you trade futures, not necessarily, Jesse. I pay attention to them, but I like to trade during market hours only. So any questions you have, you can relate them. We can still talk about stuff, but I just don't trade them very often. Slow short squeeze. Yeah, shorting. You trade not very often. I mean, there's times where I take 2 week out, 4 week out, and 8 week out option plays, and so position trade are more likely. But if that move happens quickly, I'm usually out looking for the next one. MU. There were some people talking about this one too. This one here is going to be a 2-hour play. Yeah, 2-hour play here. Beat down, curl up, positive territory, no good like divergences at the same time. So good divergence here on the RSI. I just like to see it at the same time as the MACD. I'd be more convinced. So I think you got a good chance for this to move up here if we can cross over on this MACD. If we're going to continue to break down, you're going to start to see us lose some moving averages, right? We're going to start to lose some stuff. Right now, you could just get that reaction down to the 20, head back up, right? We test the 20 here, head back up. We test the 20 here, head back up. So you are crossing down on this MACD here, so it's a time to be a little cautious. But if you wanted to take some upside, you got to be patient. You got to wait for this to at least curl up, I believe, and then you can confirm, hey, I'm going to test that high or go make a new one. Actually, that divergence is between this high here, so maybe just test that high and fail. Silver's going up, 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 up. How can you tell what time frame is best? It just depends on your trading style. It really does. I mean, I found mine. I used plenty of different. I used to use a 4-hour and a daily to trade when I like started out with technicals way back. But now I know that I really perform well with a 30-minute, a 2-hour, and a daily. And I'll even look at weeklies for a long term. I'm not touching anything. Thanks for your time and info. You bet, Jose. SPY to 522 after FOMC. Thoughts? I mean, it's possible. The weird part is 522 is possible. I'm going to tell you right now, 526 is possible. But to say it's possible doesn't mean it's going to happen. You probably want to wait for what's actually going to come out with that FOMC minutes. I'm just stating you have divergence down here. You have divergence down here on a lot of different charts. Now, you would say this is flagging. That looks pretty flaggy. So even though we bought back up, I thought this bar would confirm. That was convincing me it wasn't as flaggy, but now you see it's still within this, right? So we can see that drop a little bit lower. Maybe we actually test that bottom side. Maybe the Qs need to test their bottom side. So one thing is, if the SPY comes out of this range, out of this daily range, just pay attention because the Qs aren't out of theirs yet. Maybe the Qs need to go test theirs down here. Before it actually wants to head higher. So the SPY can drift down because of that. Dow, once again, just really just flagging here, right? You see that? So we can drop lower now, guys. So we might want to look at volatility. This thing starting to ramp up just a little bit. I keep trying to draw and then I grab the screen. High yield growth. This thing dropping off dramatically. TLT dropping off dramatically. So this 30-minute divergence starting to get a little worrisome here. Dollar just ripping. 10-year yield ripping above 4.495. My goodness. Europe is going to sell the close, and yeah, that's most likely true. 50% of the drop. 50% of the drop taken out. If it's bearish, it will never recover again today. It's the opening. Trying to understand what you're telling me. Oh yeah, if it takes out this level, I'm just stating how if you take out this level, just be careful because it could be a reaction out and a reaction back in. If the Qs, you pretty much you want both to break through the bottom side here is what I'm thinking. But let's run through these real quick. Let's run through them. Okay, first of all, let's look at the SPY. Okay, we came down into the daily expected move. We're trying to buy back up. We have divergence down here, so if we see some kind of pop, it would make a little bit of sense. It would make a little bit of sense, but we need good news in order for that to happen. CPI coming in just pretty much as hot as last time, which is interesting, and I wonder if they try to spin that in some way. but coming in pretty much in line with last month, but still higher than all the expectations. So that's why you're going to see this downward pressure. But just interesting to see the SPY still holding up above that daily expected move. You really want this to break down, you got to lose that daily expected move and use it as resistance. Q's still not near it. So pay attention if the SPY breaks through. And thank you, Philip, for subscribing. But if the SPY breaks through, but the Qs hold up here and start to bounce, well, maybe the SPY is just going to catch back up again. So the Qs do have the potential to hold up at this area, 435.06. Just pay attention. Apple, this thing looked like it was going to reverse. Look at that. And then that wick comes in. So we're starting to see that sell back off. Now, Apple, if you're able to confirm something here, right, you see the divergence down here. You have it on the RSI at the same time, right? It's just barely a little up. And you actually probably have that divergence across the way here, right? So even with this low, you got a little bit of a divergence. So if we wanted to go up from here, well, we're going to break up to here, do something like that. So just pay attention to upside, even though downside's looking like the direction at this moment, okay? Just be willing to flip. Yeah, there's no way they're going to cut rates, but I'm saying, what if they just tell people they're going to? What just tell people they're going to? If they talk about a rate hike now, this market is toast. The economy might be toast, because if we actually raise those rates again, you're talking about more people sitting on their homes, less people being able to buy homes, seller power again. It's just, wow. Oh, wow. 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 Pow. Jerome Powell. Tesla here. Just want to point out, look at that, the divergence here. If you wanted to take this play, looked pretty probable, right? But I just wanted to be a little cautious with this one, as Tesla does have some stuff behind it to go higher. So I just want to be careful with this one. The bigger time frame showing me a lot of stuff that could lead to Tesla going higher. But right now, the direction is chosen. The direction is chosen. A little bit of a double top up here with some divergence on the MACD and RSI. So downside looking juicy. Amazon, still deciding at this point, still deciding. So this might depend on FOMC. If that just curls up, guess what? Positive territory. What happens when we curl up in positive territory near the center line? Boom, positivity. Not necessarily near the center line, but boom, big reaction, positivity over time there. So Nvidia, this one's the interesting one. This is interesting. Tesla just keeps getting bad news after bad news, which is very interesting. But part of me is like, that's kind of funky. But okay, Nvidia here. Remember, coming down to this area, this is that weekly expected move. We get that reaction. This was highly probable to bounce today, and it bounced today. Look at that. AMD, you'd expect it to follow suit. Not happening, but creating a 30-minute divergence. Look at this sneaky thing happening right here at these lows. What if this just drifts down a little bit more and curls back up? You got a solid divergence. Well, the thing about AMD right now is if you get a 30-minute divergence right here, you have a 2-hour divergence confirmed at this point, rolling back over, going red. We'll have to see if that can turn back to green, but you do have that down here. Starting to fail at this moment, though, so be careful with that one. Meta, this guy wanted to turn up, right? Turn up. But 30-minute cross, can it go positive? Remember, that positivity really likes to come in once this is actually in positive territory. So just pay attention to that going forward. But you can see the last time we were curling up, even below the center line, boom, we pile up for a little bit and a big move comes. So that could be happening here. If this is going to roll back down, roll down negative territory. We just went through Tesla. You can rewind just a little bit. This is a moment of truth for Microsoft. I would say that. This is a big, big moment for Microsoft. Curling down on the 2-hour. This does not look pretty. This looks very ugly, actually. So this looks pretty ugly. If you start to break this, that is not looking good. IWM doesn't look good. It just broke its, but this is where it kind of has to hold up. Remember, you do have weekly ranges for all this stuff over on Patreon down in the description. And Microsoft, not even at its weekly expected move with this downside. Weekly expected move is lower, all right? Weekly expected move is lower here. Google, this one here, look at that, confirming a 2-hour divergence maybe. Maybe. Well, look at this. What if this rolls over right now? We're very close to negative territory. Just be open to a pop or something like that if we get some good news with the FOMC minutes. But we can see here, if we're going to see positivity, this 30 minutes going to curl up. All right, then we know there's some upside. If the 2 hour crosses down, hey, looks like that momentum's dead. We get PPI tomorrow. That was very high last time, so pay attention to that going forward. We just want to see, is the fear really in the market? No, there's not a lot of fear here. So you'd really expect a bigger jump in volatility today, I would say, but we're not necessarily seeing that. You'd expect another move like this one. Just get outside of this and then you see. But just a note about volatility, right? We talked about this earlier. The longer you sit above this 200-day moving average, the closer this 50 gets to crossing, and that's a crash signal. So just be aware of that. If we see some positivity for a few days, we might go make some kind of double bottom down here, and then all bets are off. Hey, that curls up, positive territory. But as of right now, we're holding above the 200. If you can hold at this level, you got to hold above it. So you're doing what you need to do to see volatility come back in. You're holding above the 200. Now we got to see that escalate a little bit more. The dollar going forward, this thing just ripping to the upside. It's maybe going to hit my target, right? I really said this target here. I've had that up for ever since down in this area, right? 105.65. That's really what I'm looking for, and I think we could get that move. If we're going to see this drop, I like a 4 hour, see some kind of 4 hour divergence or something like that. Not necessarily getting that at this point. 2 hour, weirdly enough, should have brought this up yesterday, but dollar kind of signaling my momentum's dead. Now it's dependent on the data because we had different signals across the board, but 2 hour divergence down here, able to cross up around this area right here. Then we see that fall back down, but that rip to the upside happening as of right now. You have the potential cup. Maybe we get some kind of handle with tomorrow or throughout the end of the day, and then it rips to the upside again with PPI. I would pay attention to that. TLT, let's go over this one as well. All right, those yields starting to creep higher and higher and higher. TLT, able to base out here, kind of a good thing, actually. I think you could create that triple divergence down here. Uh-oh, what if we create this triple divergence? Why would it create the triple divergence? Why would TLT bounce back into this market with that inflation data if it is so bad? And that's my argument here is like, is that data drop we just got so bad that it is going to absolutely wipe out all of this positive price action, right? Is it going to wipe out all of this? Is this enough to really shift the mental of the bulls? I would say no, I don't think it is. I would say it's not bad enough news. Now, PPI tomorrow could be a different story. Bank earnings can be a different story. But as of right now, I just don't see it being the moment. If I'm wrong, I'm just going to follow the signals. I'll end up in the move anyway. But as of right now, don't necessarily see it. Microsoft 2 hour, that one here, it's at a point where it really needs to hold up. I'm going to say that, but the 2 hour crossing down, you do not want that to go negative, okay? That goes negative, you're breaking through structure, you're going to go probably test the bottom side weekly expected move. I think you need to hold up right at this level and start to curl up if you want to see that positivity, right? Break through something like this, then we get nice and tight in here, and boom, we start to break up. But if you keep breaking down for Microsoft, it's not looking pretty. Yeah, we could see that flight to safety. We could see the things with the Middle East escalate. We have a ton of stuff. And that's where, trading like water is a very good thing because it can be very frustrating, keeping those stops and things like this. I want to do something, but still it feels like the smart move. It is. You're at a pivotal point, right? CPI, very important. And then you have FOMC later. So it's like we had direction with CPI. What if that's just totally ruined by FOMC minutes and you're caught in some kind of trap? Bull bear fight right now? I'd say, yeah, you're right. It seems like bulls trying to say, hey, let's push this thing up. You can even look at Apple here. Now, Apple, remember this thing, you got to wait for some confirmations on this one. So we got to wait for some confirmation on these divergences down here, but you do have them again. So pay attention here. We could see a move up, but if those bears just clamp down, right, bite down, we can see that keep going. Yeah, home builders is done. I mean, I like to look at Nail and HGX, but Nail here, just the 3 times leveraged one. Woo, that is done. Bottom Bollinger, we can get some kind of reaction. Okay, so this is, I mean, doing technicals on the 3x one, not the best, but you expect to come down into this area, right? Now we can see, do we come up and test this level again? Kind of solidify a head and shoulders in this area. That would be very interesting. Not good for the housing market, though. Yeah, we're testing bottom Bollinger, so a lot of the time you want to reconnect with the 5 in some way. So if we move sideways, reconnect with the 5, and then see that drop off, that would be very telling. But just pay attention, guys. Make sure you're moving your money around. Trade like water out there. It will help you out. The SPY, it's still holding up from that daily expected move. We start to lose that, things can escalate. There you go. Price target risen. Edward Smith telling us the price target for Nvidia got rose up. You're flagging. You can head up from here. Will that good news spread across the market? We'll have to see. What if people just pile into Nvidia and nothing else really moves? That's something you can see happen here. So just be paying attention, be willing to trade like water, and I will see you guys for the FOMC minutes later today. Make sure you're subscribed and turn those notifications on, guys. This is the moment you need to turn those on. That way we can talk about this stuff for FOMC. Remember, all of this can just totally change based on FOMC. The next rock in our stream, we saw the direction for now. It's down, trying to buy back up. That's what we take from today. It's down, trying to buy back up. Now we have the next rock. That's going to be FOMC minutes, and then maybe that buys us back up, and then we run into the next rock, which is PPI. Does that drop us back off? So we just have to be willing to be adaptable and flip the script. Thank you guys so much for liking, subscribing. I wish you all the luck of the world trading for the rest of the day, and I will be back later for FOMC minutes 2 hours before close. See ya! Yeah, and Robert, I'm still saying there could be positive. I'm just saying you have to get a reaction. I think people will wait for FOMC minutes before they try to buy this thing fully back up. Not like Nvidia kind of flagging. That thing got some good news, but all these other ones like Apple and stuff will most likely have to wait for FOMC minutes. So that's all I'm saying there. But I hope you guys have a good day. Make sure to trade like water out there. I will be back later this afternoon. Peace.